Hey everyone, welcome to KSSP Podcast. I'm Spencer.
And I'm Katie. And today we're going to be talking about diversity. So let's start with this first article here. What are the advantages of diversity in society? So, diversity in society allows for richness and variety, boosting innovation, which leads to economic growth, improving access to jobs, producing culturally vibrant and varied communities, and preventing stagnation. Oh, this is reference.com, by the way. Early exposure to ethnic and economy diversity prepares children and students for a multicultural world, with studies demonstrating that this type of socializing contributes significantly to their academic development and level of cultural awareness. So, this doctor studied the benefits of diversity in society, and cautioned that an over homogeneous community that demands assimilation risks fragmentation from those who refuse and stagnation from the lack of contribution. He indicates that the chief advantage of diversity is the opportunity to learn from someone with a different background and perspective and to share that knowledge. The risk of assimilation is extremely high in certain communities. Although the U.S. characterizes itself as a melting pot, Dr. Taylor criticized the tendency of immigrants to encourage their children to abandon their roots and languages to blend into the suburban, homogeneous white American culture. To contrast this example, he holds up other societies that teach children English without erasing other languages, in the process, maintaining a connection to minority cultures. So, that was a short one. I guess I didn't mean to read the whole thing, but
That's okay.
that's all
It's
right.
important to, uh, yeah, it's just diversity is important, obviously,
Yes.
because I feel like it helps us learn from each other and
Yeah. And,
it just helps society grow. Because another thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about like white supremacists and far right groups in
mm,
the other video is what are the like, okay, let's say they're let's say they succeed. Then what? What, their economy is going to run off of 1,000 people? They
right.
think there's 3 billion white people in this country that are going to like support them and stand behind their movement? I don't think so.
Right.
So like they're, I mean, not that that is an excuse. Like an economy is not an excuse for diversity. Like we should be diverse regardless of the economy. But
Yes.
what are they gonna like? They're not gonna have a like a thriving nation if their only basis is white supremacy or whatever it is. Like diversity is important for everyone and it helps everyone in the society.
Yes, 100%. And I think diversity leads to variety, and variety helps us to expand our minds in general. It allows us to take the best parts of each culture and ideally combines them into a somewhat of a utopian culture, I guess, for lack of a better word, where everyone feels included and we are more able to find agreements with each other.
Yes.
So, next we're going to talk about tribalism. This is the myth of tribalism from the Atlantic. Beware the false notion that group solidarity leads inevitably to conflict. By now, even people who differ on nearly all issues seem to agree on at least one thing. American politics has become driven by tribal conflict. Tucker Carlson claims schools are creating tribalism in our kids. Former President Barack Obama warned we risk turning away from democratic principles in favor of tribalism and might makes right. As journalist George Packer once summarized the problem, American policies today require a word as primal as tribe to get at the blind allegiances and huge passions of partisan affiliation. Tribes demand loyalty, and in return, they confer the security of belonging. They're badges of identity, not of thought. The underlying psychology of us and them appears grounded in deep rooted human tendencies to carve the world into groups and discriminate in favor of one's own. But although that notion that group solidarity leads inevitably to prejudice, animosity, and conflict is common, it is also incorrect and potentially dangerous. So humans do possess the innate capacity to identify with members of their own groups. but it does not lead inexorably toward intergroup conflict. Groupishness, a term some researchers use to describe humans' tendency to identify with social groups, can be the source of a much wider repertoire of actions, including cooperation, altruism, embracing diversity, and helping people radically different from ourselves. So, I guess in their new book, it is argued that to explain collective behavior, researchers and commentators must distinguish between two key concepts: how strongly members identify with their groups and its norms. Oh, I guess okay. That's one thing. So some members of the same group, for example, often feel a stronger sense of connection to the collective than others. Like, yeah. And then members who strongly identify with the group generally conform to its norms more, but these norms vary dramatically. For every hate group, another group, such as the Red Cross or Doctors Without Borders, exists that is committed to helping others. And more deeply members identify with the latter, the more likely they are to help people different from themselves, even at a significant personal cost. Recognizing that collective norms can be either positive or negative is a key to understanding why and when tribalism occurs. It also suggests how different groups can find common ground. When people use the term tribalism, they're usually aiming to capture a toxic dynamic in collective life, such as one that characterizes much of contemporary American politics. But what happens between the groups is often both a symptom and a reinforcer of unhealthy patterns within individual groups as well. Such patterns include the suppression of dissenting voices and a cult mentality in which members seek only to affirm one another's worldview. The characteristics describe how people can behave in groups, but they do not always apply. In most cases, they do not. When humans identify with a group, we're motivated to pursue the group's interests and goals, but while that feeling provides the fuel for collective action, group norms set the direction, determining what forms those actions take. In some experiments, psychology researchers have sought to manipulate whether people believe that their own group tries to treat outsiders fairly. Participants who are led to believe that their group normalizes fairness engage in less group favoritism than do people who think that their group has a discriminatory norm. Rather than adopting discriminatory norms, real-life groups can and often do embrace norms of tolerance, acceptance, and inclusion. Let's see. The power of group norms has long been recognized in other domains. For example, young people's drug and alcohol use or risky sexual behavior is heavily influenced by what they believe their peers do. This insight has led to promising interventions. Learning that others in your group drink less alcohol than you do can persuade you to cut back on your own excessive consumption. Many students overestimate how much their peers drink. In one study, university freshmen who received accurate information about drinking behavior by students of their own gender reported imbibing about 25% fewer drinks a week 5 months later. So Sohad Murar and her colleagues at the University of Wisconsin at Madison recently applied the same idea to intergroup relations. In recent years, universities and other orgs have invested heavily in training in which instructors extol the benefits of diversity and urge participants to be mindful of their own implicit biases. But those initiatives have a mixed record. Murar's team found that drawing people's attention to social norms could produce much better results. Of course, universities are distinct places. In broader society, the divides between groups are far deeper than on campus. Yet most humans define themselves in multiple ways. People of different races, political parties, or religious beliefs can share identities professionally, as sports fans, or as citizens. All of these identities are alternative ways of perceiving ourselves and our social world, and are all opportunities for communality and solidarity. When MLK Jr. urged the U.S. to live outside the true meaning of its creed, He was calling for new norms of racial equality that were nonetheless grounded in the bedrock of American national identity. And then some identities cut across sectarian lines. Following the invasion and then defeat of ISIS in northern Iraq, the Christian and Muslim communities living there were left deeply divided. But they had something in common, a passion for soccer. In an extraordinary recent experiment, political scientist Salma Musa recruited amateur Christian soccer teams to join a new league. She arranged for half players to remain all Christian while the other half were joined by Muslim players. Playing together for a season with Muslim teammates made the Christian players express more inclusive attitudes. Compared with those on homogeneous teams, the Christians on religiously mixed teams were more prepared to train with Muslims in the future, vote for a Muslim player to win a prize, and sign up for a similar cross-religion experience the next season. The benefits appeared to be particularly pronounced for players on winning teams. So all of this contradicts commonly held notions about the tribal nature of group psychology. While many people call tribalism is not inevitable, rather it's a function of group norms, but the constant invocation of tribalism may create a self-fulfilling prophecy. People come to distrust other groups and falsely believe they need to discriminate against outsiders or suppress dissenters to maintain their status within their own group. Understanding how group identities combine with norms to shape human behavior also empowers people, and especially leaders, to focus more on cultivating healthy norms within their group. Rather than assuming groups will slide into hostility and insularity, humans should hold ourselves to higher standards. So tribalism leads us to conflict, and it is the opposite of embracing diversity. Instead of focusing on the good in all of us, it focuses on the negative of the outgroups and the positive of one's own group. This is a cognitive bias, and it's known as the fundamental attribution error. Now, what is the fundamental attribution error? Well, it's also known as correspondence bias or attribution effect. It's a tendency for people to underemphasize situational and environmental explanations for an individual's observed behavior while overemphasizing dispositional and personality-based explanations. So it basically means when you're thinking of, like, let's say you do something that might be considered bad. Like, let's say you steal $20 from your mom's purse. Now, you might say, oh, well, I needed that $20 because I needed to buy X, Y, Z. But if, let's say your little brother steals the $20 out of your mom's purse, you're going to be like, why are you doing that? That's inherently wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. You're not as likely to think of, why they might be doing that. And that same logic can apply to tribalism and in-groups. You're more likely to be more lenient when judging someone in your in-group versus judging someone who's not in your in-group. But ultimately, yes, diversity is definitely the way to go. It is the way for us to progress society. We can all learn things from each other, from our different cultures, our different ways of life, our different practices, our different beliefs, all that good stuff. So we're embrace diversity. That's pretty much all I had, though. I didn't have much.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I don't, and we've kind of talked about
We've talked about
diversity just with like inclusivity and
it.
I think something else that we talked about kind of too. So, I mean, I feel like which it's good because diversity is
Mhm.
good and important to talk about. So,
Yes.
I don't know if I really have much else to add, I guess, specifically on diversity. Just, I think it's good. And if that's what we champion America as being a melting pot, then it should be diverse. And diverse in the way to where we don't force people to take on, like, diverse in the way that where people can still obviously practice their own cultures. Because
Oh, yeah, and avoiding
otherwise that's not even diversity. If we force
right.
them to conform to the American way of life, like, no, people
Right,
should
that's
be
the
able to
opposite
still
of
practice.
diversity.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So there's still that important aspect to it too. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think diversity is just, and it's really helpful for, I would say, even us as a species, just to
Yeah.
help us keep evolving and because it's always good to see other people's experiences and learn from. We can all learn from each other and what people have gone through and what we've gone through, and then just learn and expand on that and grow, I guess, as I
Yes.
would hope a species, or at least for sure as a society we can.
Yeah. And yeah, embracing diversity just it lead what was I gonna say? Shoot. Embracing diversity just leads to more cooperation between us. And as social creatures, it's very important for us to have as much cooperation between each other as we can.
Yeah, that's what helps also
Yes.
keep us alive too, because
Oh, yeah.
doesn't
Right. It
fighting
keeps us
isn't good.
united.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
I think that's I guess you don't have anything else either then. No. Okay. So you guys can leave, anyone can leave a comment below letting us know what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
you can reach out to us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we do occasionally do Twitch live streams.
Yes, so don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know when we do.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will see everyone next time.